Okay, good morning everybody. So today is Wednesday, the 6th of January, and today we are learning to use the past perfect tense. So our do now for today is a dictation exercise again. So our do now, remember to use lovely, neat handwriting and listen really carefully to make sure that you get all of the marks. So there are 4 possible marks on this one. So I'm going to read the sentence 3 times. If you need a little bit longer to complete it than I give you in the video, then please pause, or you can also move the video back slightly to listen to the sentence again. So, first reading. How long did Lily wait in the queue? Second time. How long did Lily wait in the queue? Third reading. How long did Lily wait in the queue? Okay, pause the video if you need a little bit more time, or rewind it if you need to hear it again. But I'm going to go over the answers now. So it's a new sentence, so we need to start with a capital letter. Our first word was how, so the capital H. And the O and the W need to be separate from the capital. Give yourself a tick if you remembered your capital letter at the beginning. So that's your first mark. How long? No marks for that one. Did. Now, Lily is the name of a person, so Lily needs a capital letter. It's a proper noun. And you get another tick if you got Lily. Wait in the, and then Q. Q-U-E-U-E is the spelling. You get a mark if you got the spelling correct. That is one of our year 5-6 words that you should be able to spell. And apologies if I didn't read it clearly enough. It is a question. How long did Lily wait in the queue? A question, so it should have a question mark at the end. Apologies if I didn't enunciate that appropriately for you to catch that, but hopefully you did when you had written it in full. How long did Lily wait in the queue? So you can give yourself a mark out of 4 at the end. Hopefully you did well on that one. So as I said, we are using the past perfect tense today. It can sound a little bit confusing the way that it is explained, but it is very, very simple. So I'm really confident that you'll be able to achieve the learning objective by the end of a lesson. So just to recap our unit, we're writing first person narratives next week, and they are going to be written in the past tense. So you're going to be writing from Zoe's point of view and describing her escape from Norwich and her journey to Eel Island. So all in the past tense. But within that, we may want to include past perfect, particularly in paragraph 1. That will be our Walt on Monday as well. And that's because past perfect tense ties events in the past to a specific time. So if we look at this first sentence here, this is called simple past tense, and we can all recognise and understand it. We were relieved we used an umbrella. It's something that happened in the past. Past perfect tense helps you sequence events a little bit more clearly. It's very subtle, but it can be really effective and just helps your reader to understand the chronology of events and when things happened. So, for example, we were relieved we had used an umbrella. Again, ties it to a specific point in time, whereas in sentence 1, they could have been relieved to have used it all the time rather than at a specific point. So it uses had and a past participle, which is a verb in the past tense. And really it shows that something was finished earlier before something else happened, and both events were in the past. So you can see here we've got a few examples. If we focus on this one, the bird had just swooped down to catch the worm when the apple fell from the tree. So the apple fell from the tree in the past tense, but the bird swooping down sort of happened just before it, and that had expresses it a bit more clearly in time. You can see that had usually goes before the verb. There may be a word in between the two, but had will come before the verb here and the had after the noun. In this example here, nothing separating had and past participle. I had walked the dog by the time my mum got back from work. And then the third example, the girls had started their homework before 8 p.m. So again, all of these things have happened in the past, and there was an earlier event that finished before that too. So you wouldn't use this all of the time. You would, not everything has to be written in past perfect tense, and it would seem a little bit off in your writing if you were to use that. Just use it appropriately and selectively. But as I said on Monday, that will be our focus. Looking at activity 1, you need to identify past perfect sentences. So I'm going to give you an example here, and then I'll get you started on your first activity. So I know that past perfect uses had and a past participle. So I'm going to use this set of guidelines to help me identify the past perfect sentences. So sentence 1, Olivia was running down the stairs noisily. I can't see had. Was running, it did happen in the past, but it's not past perfect. Sentence 2, the children have been working very hard on their home learning. This isn't past perfect, it's actually, I wonder if you will know it actually. I'll give you a moment to think. It should be something you've picked up before. This is present perfect. It should be something you've covered in year 4. Children have been, it means that something is started in the past but is continuing in the present. And I'm sure you all are working very hard on your home learning, hence why it's in present perfect. And then sentence 3, Miss Montagnon had completed 3 jigsaw puzzles before New Year's Day. This is the past perfect sentence. We have had and we have the past participle completed, and they both go after the noun. Miss Montagnon had completed, she'd done that activity, that had been finished in the past tense before New Year's Day, in the past tense, so hence past perfect. So your first activity is, if you may want to just pause the video here so then you can see it on your screen, or you can open up the document now from your home learning page. You are going to identify the sentences that use past perfect. There is no expectation to print anything in these lessons, and you may wish to, but really you can just write down on a piece of paper question 1 and a tick or a cross. So when she heard her phone ring, she accepted the call. Just to show you what I mean. So that question is on my screen. Question 1, I'll just put that in the margin, and if I don't think that uses past perfect, I'll just put a cross. And if you really want to be paper conscious, you can go across your line like this and number your answers. So I will just put that back on the screen for you. Oh, sorry, wrong page. You can pause it here. Hopefully that's clear enough for you to read. If it's not, then you can access the activity from the home learning page. But please pause the video here, as I will continue on with the rest of the lesson in just a moment. Okay, well done for completing the first part of the activity. Please make sure that we can see that on Seesaw when you do upload your work later. So it's not enough just to identify past perfect tense, we also need to be able to write in it too, which is generally quite straightforward. There are a couple of things to watch out for, which I will warn you about in just a second. So we have an example of simple past tense. Peter hurried, so he was not late for his meeting. It's very easy to change this into past perfect. I just need to identify the verb, which is hurried, and insert had before it, and you can see if it's gone after the noun. I'll check that sentence back to see it makes sense. Peter had hurried, so he was not late for his meeting. Yeah, so past perfect, it happened in the past, it's a completed event before his meeting. So we've got 2 examples here. We have Sonia walked to school all term. So have a think to yourself now, how would I need to change that sentence so it's in past perfect? Okay, hopefully you've identified the verb, which is walked, and you can see that had should go in here before the verb. I'll just make that bold for you so you can see it. Sonia had walked to school all term. Sentence 2, the storm lasted for several hours. Try and find the verb. So lasted, and we need to put had, so you can see that. The storm had lasted for several hours. But now, as I did warn you, things can get a little bit tricky. So we have this sentence here with a big exclamation mark at the side of it, because this is one that you need to watch out for. Dad, oh sorry, we can see that if I had Dad ate all of the cake, that this, if I put had in front of ate, it wouldn't make much sense. So what is it about this sentence that's a little bit trickier? What do you need to be careful of? I'll give you a moment to think about that. Okay. So eat is an irregular verb, which means that it changes when it's used in different tenses. So Dad ate all of the cake is past simple past tense. But to turn it into past perfect, we'd need to actually change the verb as well. So Dad had eaten all of the cake. So sometimes it's not enough just to insert had before the verb. Sometimes we need to change the verb itself if it's irregular. Now, there are quite a few of these to watch out for. So if you're unsure, just read it out loud to yourself. If it doesn't sound quite right, then you may need to look at it further and just check that it makes sense. So if we look at these examples here, Ella did all of her homework before watching television. So it's simple past tense at the moment. What would you change about this sentence so it can be written in past perfect? Okay, I'll give you a moment to think about that. Okay, so if I was just to put had in front of this one, Ella did all of her homework before watching television, that wouldn't sound right at all. So we would need to think about changing the verb again. So obviously Ella can still be at the start of the sentence. Ella had done all of her homework. Television. Stop at the end, don't forget that. So the verb has changed here. So if we have a look at sentence number 2, Martin went to Oakwood Primary for 2 years. Again, have a look at that verb. Does that one need to change as well? I'll give you a moment to think about that and maybe what you would change it to. Okay, I would absolutely change this one too. So Martin had gone to Oakwood Primary for 2 years. Again, went is an irregular verb. You can change it to something that's a bit more appropriate. Had attended, you might want to change it to that as well. Any other verb, as long as you had went, wouldn't make sense. So it is really helpful to start thinking of sentences written in past perfect that link to our text based on Floodland. Sorry, I keep typing in an S at the end. Based on Floodland. So hopefully you are a little bit more acquainted with the text now. You've read a model and your class teacher should have read a chapter out to you. So you know a little bit more about the world involved. So if I was imagining I was setting the scene, I was having a bit of foreshadowing of Zoe's dangerous voyage, I might want my paragraph to maybe start with or have at some point stormy weather. But I want to show that maybe the stormy weather finished before something happened, so to again show that link in time. So I've got this picture here of kind of stormy clouds. It's not, I can imagine that it's raining, it's windy and so on. So I can imagine this as being foreshadowing something dangerous is going to happen. So if I just go back to my visualizer and I can show you what this will look like. So if I imagine it's raining, again you can use a little bit of poetic license with these images if not exactly as you would imagine. So I've done my first activity, so I'm just going to write underneath here. It doesn't matter if I do another question 1, and I might want to start off with quite a simple sentence because I'm just practicing my skill. So I might think through it's raining if it's stormy. So the rain had. Now this is, you can imagine what verb I'm going to use here. Had fell wouldn't be appropriate. Had fallen, so that's another irregular verb. So there are quite a lot of them, so be careful. The rain had fallen all morning. Okay, and full stop at the end. So that is my past perfect sentence. I've got my had and my past participle. I might want to challenge myself a little bit further by using a subordinate conjunction. You might want to use fronted adverbials and parentheses and so on, really applying a range of skills to these sentences once you are confident, because you will be completing an activity like this very shortly. So I might want to start my sentence with that again. You can be much more exciting than I am. I'm keeping it fairly simple. I do apologise, my handwriting is not looking great today, is it? The storm, I've got my noun, so I want to think about using my had, and the had brewed. So my verb here, this is a regular verb, so I don't need to worry about changing this one too much. The storm had brewed, and I'm going to use since. So that's my subordinate conjunction, since 2 p.m. that afternoon. Actually, I think 2 p.m. might be a little bit informal, so I might have to actually change it to words. So I'm just going to cross this out with the ruler and just write to the top. So 2. Oh, I do apologise for my handwriting today. So I've got a couple of example sentences here using the past perfect. I've got one with an irregular verb and one with a regular verb. It's just happened that way, but just describing something that could be useful in the first person narrative. So you are going to be completing the rest of your worksheet, which is on your home learning page. So if you just scroll down on that document slightly. Activity 2, you're going to turn these sentences from simple past into past perfect. So they baked cookies for the charity event all morning. What do you need to change about that sentence? Is it just inserting a word? Do you need to change the verb as well? So just write that out on lined paper with the correction added into it. Then once you've completed those 4, hopefully that is pretty straightforward. You've got part B, which is what I've just shown you under the visualizer. Write your own sentences using past perfect inspired by events in Floodland. So I've tried to link it to the narrative as much as I can. Then you are producing sentences that may help you. Write at least 2 of your own sentences about each idea below. Of course, if you have lots of ideas, feel free to write more, but we would expect a minimum of 2 each, meaning you've got at least 6. Again, the challenge, which I did mention, is to make your sentences complex by using subordinating clauses and fronted adverbials. You may want to use parentheses as well, and so on, maybe figurative language. Don't shy away from using those amazing words, practicing the tense. But once you get confident and it is quite straightforward, then push yourself, because you're going to help, your writing next week. So the first 2 will be about the mob chasing Zoe. Think about the sounds they're making, their emotions, how they're moving, and so on. Zoe escaping the mob. So think about how she'd be feeling, how she'd be moving, maybe where she'd be going, maybe the effect of the weather on both of these 2 really. So think about the whole atmosphere, the scene, if you're getting a bit stuck for ideas. And then the third one is one similar to what I've done, the stormy weather. So you might think about the clouds, the lightning, the rain. It could be hail, imagine the wind. Again, think of the sounds as well, not just the feel and the temperature too. So hopefully that is enough for you to go off for your writing. We really are looking forward to seeing all the wonderful work and ideas that you have for your writing today, and we really look forward to seeing it on Seesaw. So thank you so much, everybody, and I'll speak to you all tomorrow for your next writing lesson.